Hello everybody and welcome again to my channel. My name is Rainer and this is Rainier Books. I give you another review in my series of books that I read from the long list of the Women's Prize, and this time and today it is about Camilla Grudova and her novel Children of Paradise. Children of Paradise in French means Les Enfants du Paradis. And Les Enfants du Paradis is a movie by director Marcel Carné from 1945. Now, I haven't seen that movie, but it is apparently a legendary motion picture that, for example, American actor Marlon Brando has called maybe the best movie that was ever made. And French Nouvelle Vague director François Truffaut passed away many years ago. He said he would give all his beautiful movies if he had made just this one movie, Les Enfants du Paradis. And also, and the third and last thing, in 1995, 600 French film critics and professionals within the French film industry voted for Les Enfants du Paradis as the best French movie of all time. The film apparently deals with a popular French mimic theater of the 19th century, where Paradis, or the Paradise, was the portion of the theater house where seats were the cheapest and where poor people generally were sitting. In British slang, actually, I read it when doing research for this review. In British slang, these seats were called the gods. So let's get to this book here. Here, Paradise is a cinema somewhere in the English-speaking world. We never learn where it is, actually. We don't know the narrator's real name either. The narrator of this book, a younger woman that is telling the story, she says in the beginning on the second or third page, "I'll call myself Holly, like the girl from Badlands." Well, Sissy Spacek is Holly Sargis in Terrence Malick's movie Badlands from 1973, where Spacek and film partner Martin Sheen, aka Kit Carruthers, are on a killing spree that takes them across the United States from South Dakota to Canada. The girl who calls herself Holly, that's how we have to call her here in this review, is looking for a job. She is passing the Paradise. She's walking through this new town. She just came to this country a few weeks ago with her Russian novels, she says, and she walks past this cinema, the Paradise, and she sees a sign, handwritten sign, which is in the big glossy glass doors, as she describes it, and it says, "We're hiring." So it begins. She applies for a job. The Paradise is a cinema that once was the leading theater of the city, maybe even the region or the country. But its good times, they have long been gone. It is owned by a woman named Iris, but the leading manager of the Paradise, her name is Sally, who had a face like Judy Garland and was a foreigner too, as the narrator says. There is projectionist Pete, quote, a man with long gray hair, Patricia, who's a huge fan of the Swiss-French avant-garde director Jean-Luc Godard, whose, quote, hands were speckled with a bad fake tan and tobacco stains, and who, quote, wears large plastic glasses with greasy popcorn fingerprints on them. That doesn't sound nice, doesn't it? There is Flynn, who wears a cumbersome fur hat, assistant manager Otto, and Paolo, who looks like a beautiful Roman soldier. So there's a very diverse bunch of weird and weirder characters in this novel. And in the cinema, the Paradise. The Paradise actually is another character in this novel. The entrance, like the building's gaping mouth, a sparkling marquee teeth grin with the word Paradise written in pale yellow neon. The chapters of the novel are film titles, like in a filmography, starting with Midnight Cowboy, directed by John Schlesinger, 1969, and ending with Death in Venice, directed by Luchino Visconti in 1971. Holly starts working in the cinema, cleaning it, then gradually doing all the kinds of jobs that you can do, like cleaning in the screens, like selling tickets, like ushering people to their seats, like working in the bar. First, no one of the others working at the cinema talks to her, but that changes quite quickly, and she becomes a member of the staff, of this weird bunch of outcasts populating the staff of the Paradise. And finally, already on page 24, Holly says, "The cinema took over my life." The staff watches movies together after their shifts are finished. They watch movies all day and night, first in the cinema and then also at home, at different people's homes. They clean the screens and they find things that I think people who work in cinemas might be finding each and every day all around the world. But the amount of things that you can find in the Paradise is really, really incredible. They find a lot of jewels, a lot of money, they find cocaine and weed, they consume this, they find body fluids of all kinds. Later, Holly will have regular sex with Paolo, the beautiful Roman soldier, in the screen. And in the second half of the 200-page novel, a number of people will die for several reasons, and there will also be, unfortunately, a lot of blood. So, reader discretion is once again advised. Like the Shards that I read a few weeks ago by Bret, Easton, Ellis, we meet all possible and thinkable body fluids in this novel, in Children of Paradise, even sexualized violence. Some booktubers, some of my colleagues here, have criticized the book for stereotypical characters and even for sexual violence. We hear about in the first sexual encounter between just Holly and Paolo. That is, I think, doing injustice to the book. If you want fully elaborated characters, look for other books or write one yourself that fulfill your demands. And even when Grudova describes how Paolo chokes Holly when they have sex for the first time so that she actually faints, it is not likable, and I don't like this scene, but it's things that might happen between people. So I think, does an author need to judge characters, and is an author not allowed to describe the relations that can happen between people without judging them? I think it should be allowed to just describe what happens between humans between heaven and earth, like William Shakespeare once said. Children of Paradise is, to me, a praise of old cinemas, and it says that they have a life of their own. It also is a praise of one of the most famous movies in the history of filmmaking, and it praises 35mm films and the old-fashioned way of seeing movies in large cinemas. It is also a horror story when everything changes for the worse, for the very worst, when a huge cinema chain takes over the Paradise, like in the middle of the novel, in the last third maybe, and this chain is going to change everything. They're going to split the large screen into 3 separate rooms, screening rooms, and they also want to change the colors, they want to change the bulbs, they want to change the projection. Pete is fired, the projectionist, because everything will be digital. So a lot of changes are coming. Children of Paradise is also a novel about the working class, about people working in dire and in bad conditions. And it is a book about people with low wages and their lack of opportunities to go on. If you love the movies, and especially the history of movies between, like, say, 1945, when Les Enfants du Paradis was made, until the late 1980s or early 90s, this could be a gem for you. And a gem that the jury of the Women's Prize found for you and for me, because I wouldn't have found this book in the large amount of books that are being published. Not every chapter seems to have to do something with the movie that gave it its title, its headline, but some sure are, and that might be very interesting for you to find out. Fun fact is that Canadian author Camilla Grudova currently works as an usher in a cinema in Edinburgh, Scotland, so she knows what she's writing about. I like this novel really a lot, but I understand that it's not for each and everyone out there. If you like novels where buildings are a character, then I would also recommend to you a book by Lawrence Osborne called The Glass Kingdom, where a woman on the run from a mob in New York, I think, she stole a lot of money. She moves to a large and huge glass building in Bangkok, Thailand, where also the building is populated by creepy and strange individuals, and where the building seems to have a life on its own as well. So this reminded me a little bit of this book. So thanks for watching the video, and thanks for another beautiful book on the long list of the Women's Prize. This was my 5th read actually, and I will probably read 1 or 2 more. So keep an eye on this channel, subscribe, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so, and like the video and come back to the channel. I see you soon. Bye!